It's time for some Z-Man. This is a fun thread in response to his Power Hour. Joe Younger writes, 15 years or so, maybe more, I was in a good white boutique eatery where a young black male had come in to order a sandwich to go. He didn't like something about the sandwich. I think the guacamole, and he chewed out this lanky white hipster sandwich artist with a goatee for like 10 minutes. The good white smiled the whole time and finally asked the black kid, "What can I do to make you happy?" The black kid said, "You can't make me happy." I wasn't aware back then, but I remember thinking that this social arrangement was not going to work, even then. It's profitable for the talented 10th/hustler class, like Ta-Nehisi Coates, to keep the current arrangement going, and the usual suspects enjoy it as a way to harass normal whites and decimate their social and political and economic capital. But I don't think anyone else wants it, including most black people. How do we stop this crap? Evil Sandwich replies, "Not sure how trustworthy black Facebook is, but I get the impression that blacks want their black grocers, black butchers, black beauticians, etc. back, and the foreigners, non-whites who currently run those establishments, gone. I get the impression that they blame YT for the destruction of their own economic base, such as it was. And well, they're not entirely wrong." Don't know what YT means. Continuing this thread, Yo Younger replies, "The main thing that destroyed the black community is what destroyed America more generally. I know a mainstream economist who constantly points out that segregation gave black businesses captive markets that basically worked to subsidize black infrastructure. Serious cops allowed to do their jobs would also keep the black crabs at the bottom of the bucket from tearing blacks actually trying to ascend limb from limb as they tried to do better. Big box stores and online retailers will benefit from the riots just as much as they benefited from the lockdowns. It's almost as if it was intentional. Maybe I should stop scoffing at Alex Jones." Penitent man chimes in, "I happened to see a Martin Lawrence movie, Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins, a few years ago at a family member's house. It's a redemption arc story about a well-to-do black man needing to find his roots and humility by returning to his hometown in the South. It's a black Mayberry, no crime, no drugs, and everyone in town is black and doing well. Sure, it's full of blackety-black conversation, and the only major white character is a bimbo girl that serves only to be ridiculed and humiliated as a sex partner for one of the black men. All in all, it is a black paradise. What struck me as ridiculous and profoundly sad is that despite no prohibition against them building themselves such a town, or even having the financial capital to do so, there is not one town in America like that. Not one. Sure, there are black neighborhoods, and certainly in the South, small hamlets entirely full of blacks, but not one where violence, drugs, poverty, illegitimacy, and crime are not a daily presence. This nice black town could only be created in the fever dream of a Hollywood studio. I certainly don't hate black people, but the stunning reality that they don't want to be with us and make our lives exponentially harder, and yet cannot create even a single decent town themselves, is jarring." Tarstarchus replies, "This is what galls them. They know they cannot make an all-black town work. There is not enough of them in any particular area, and even if there was, it would revert back to the mean. The funny thing is, What is conveyed in that movie, based on what you are saying, is not what they want. They don't want a town that is functionally white, just with darker skin. They want a town which is free of all the ills of black culture while maintaining a black vibe and black culture. That is absolutely impossible. They know it, and it eats them up. It is also why, despite the calls of black segregation, the moment whites start agreeing, they would begin calling them white supremacists. Comp Sci chimes in. Exactly. Blacks are blacks' worst problem, not whites. They know this deep down, but cannot accept such. Therefore, the alternative is to blame something else for their predicament. In their case, white racism. This will never change until they separate from the current society and perhaps are no longer reminded daily of their societal shortcomings as compared to whites. Penitent man comes in, quoting, perhaps are no longer reminded daily of their societal shortcomings as compared to whites, close quote. I doubt it, Comp Sci. I wish you were right. But more likely, a prolonged separation would only likely spawn myths and tales among them about how we left and stole all of their technology and achievements when we bailed on them. Either way, if you are correct and they don't have their constant failure reminder, or I am and we become their boogeyman, win-win. We are separated and I won't care. A.B. Prosper comes in. A lot of this is the fault of Ronald Reagan, not for the reasons leftists would suggest, but simply he wanted out of a marriage he didn't like, and so was part of the push to make divorce easy. Easy divorce destroys families, and without a strong, intact family, nobody does well. Black folks do even worse than whites. In some sense, Ronnie was our Henry VIII, destroying the religious and moral structures of a nation. Fixing this, though, means getting rid of the libertarian ethos and requires a state in our hands willing to enforce stable economic and moral systems. Wages must go up, jobs stay stable, families must be intact, and out-of-wedlock births must be rare. Otherwise, no civilization. Penitent man comes in. Yup. And the first of ours that mentions needing to import labor or women's suffrage gets the nocturnal razor treatment. Ben the Layabout says, you rarely hear the talented 10th criticize the untalented 9/10ths. Makes you wonder how they managed in the days of segregation. I'm of the opinion that on the whole, blacks were better off pre-civil rights, in sense of better vital statistics, lower crime rates, less out-of-wedlock births, etc. But we had to sit on the back of the bus. Ostik Kozelski says, every single indicator of social health among blacks declined with the culmination of the so-called civil rights movement and the creation of the so-called Great Society. Big Tony comes in. Thomas Sowell frequently states that from the 20s to the 50s, black incomes rose at a faster rate than they did post-civil rights. Obviously, this is cherry-picked data and ignores the reality of diminishing returns, but there is a reason they called it the happy days. Lineman says, we stop it by living separately from them, preferably with an ocean separating us. Penitent man comes in. This is the only way forward. For us, if we can save ourselves and do it. For them, I wonder, in such a world where we depart each other, will their future grandmothers tell yarns about us to the littles? They were mean to us at one point. Then they weren't. And when we couldn't keep making them feel bad about it, they finally just left. And oh, child, the things they used to build and give us. You should have seen the wonders. Indoor toilets, electric lights, and clean water. Lordy, too bad they were racist. We will be the elves that sailed to the west.